heard of Jonah Goldberg?
I have to give Jonah Goldberg a lot of cred because his book, Liberal Fascism, was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
It really opened my eyes because it really connected. I had never had anyone connect the dots between fascism and communism. That basically it's the exact same coin. There's some very slight differences, and it really articulates well the Nazi Germany versus Soviet Russia stuff for me to understand those two philosophies and stuff so much differently.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good thing.
So I have to give him credit. I actually have been a fan in that element of things. I have not read anything else recently.
Yeah. I've never been a big opponent of Jonah Goldberg. He said some things I like. He says some things I don't like.
With everybody else, so.
Right. He's just another one of those guys.
Talking head.
Yeah. But he did an op-ed for AEI, the American Enterprise Institute, I guess.
Yep.
And it's entitled, "Would We Be Better Off with a President Pence in These Turbulent Times?" And he's saying, you had all these Republicans that were like so headstrong against the impeachment, getting Trump out of office. And he says, would we have been better off today without President Trump? Those who claim quite angrily that impeachment would have overturned an election always ignored the fact that the 12th Amendment prevents that. Removal would have delivered a President Pence, not a President Clinton. And he just goes on to make some points like, Pence would have handled the pandemic better. His stewardship would have been better. He wouldn't have been hawking hydroxychloroquine or drinking bleach.
I don't know. Right. I think some of the stuff's also taken out of context.
It is.
He actually sounds like a crazy lefty at times in this article.
Now, he says it's unlikely that Pence would have launched the Battle of Lafayette Park and stuff like that, and his attacks on Joe Scarborough and all kinds of other stuff. All right.
So, but he also says that he looks at Pence, and Pence as though he's in hostage mode, and that he should blink Morse code for torture. I mean, he sounds like he should be on MSNBC. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think about all this? I think this is never Trumping nonsense.
It is. All right. Just to be clear, Jonah Goldberg is one of the more prominent of the Never Trumpers. If you're not familiar who they are, right? They're
Bill Kristol
and Steve Schmidt and
From
and all these other characters.
We're talking about high-profile political pundits that are
Republicans,
right side.
Yeah.
That are not
necessarily conservatives.
Is Romney now a Never Trumper? I would think he is.
I don't think officially, but I mean, I guess you could put him in there.
The McCains are.
Unofficial.
Like Megan doesn't, she's not going to have any part of this. She'll never forgive him.
And probably Cheney's daughter's not a big fan.
I agree, yeah, the Cheneys. The Bushes at times sound Never Trump, but they always back off of that.
But it's primarily pundits.
Correct,
They're the big ones.
The label is Never Trumper.
And so I guess the question is, would Mike Pence be in the president? Should the Republican Senate said, yeah, let's get rid of Trump?
Yeah, so
let's start with that.
Well, first off, let me say that Goldberg sounds like the crazy left because the crazy left and this Never Trumping narrative is obsessed with Trump's sort of like tactics, like his approach, his demeanor, like how he talks, like the way he says the hydrochloroquine stuff, the bleach, and all this. And, when you get some context, you watch the whole clip, you understand this guy just says, it's just like stream of consciousness. I don't think Trump's up there with this. He can't be a moron and a genius at the same time. The reality is he's a media mogul. He knows how to play the game. And he just starts spouting crap off at the top of his head. He says all this stuff. Pence would be more of a politician. It'd be more polished. It'd be a lot more scripted. He'd be handing things off more at these press conferences. He wouldn't be the one talking about things. I believe he'd be handing things off. So would it be a more digestible world? Sure. But there's a whole lot of things that Trump has done. There's no way I believe Pence would have done.
All right, let me go ahead and stick with Pence right now, though. Would the left-wing media be any more kind toward
Absolutely
President Pence?
Not.
Why?
Because we have evidence with how George Bush W was treated. But I would say that this was actually a reason that I moved, even because I was a Democrat leading into a lot of that time. That's literally my pivot point and a lot of my changing. And a lot of how Bush was treated, the lies, the manipulation, the out of context stuff, exactly what they do to Trump, but Trump is way worse, was part of the reason I would never move back in that direction. I'm like, well, I guess I can't be a part of these crazy people anymore. Now, I can't go... It's weird. Again, I'm out without a home. I can't be Republicans are always right. There's an R after their name and sound like I'm on Rush Limbaugh. I'm the host of the week. I also can't be in the never Trump. I don't really care about these semantics. I care about a bigger picture. What's more constitutional? What's a better way to drive? Usually it's less government. Usually it's less of doing us less would be better in the grand scheme of things. Mm-hmm. I don't know what benefit Pence would bring other than better PR.
Yeah, I think that would be it. I mean,
I don't think he may not sign a certain executive order or something, maybe.
Right. And he wouldn't be buffoonish on the air and stuff like that. He would be, like you said, he would be more polished. I think Pence, his stances on gay rights and all that would be lambasted, right?
Oh, the only reason it's quiet is they have other stuff to talk about. If Pence ever becomes they attacked his wife. She wrote a kid's book. And somehow she was unqualified to write a kid's book because of how they manipulate a story about something that he had done in Indiana. I mean, it never dies. It never dies.
And the thing with Trump, of course, is you mentioned constitutional issues, and Trump knows nothing about the Constitution.
He could care less about the Constitution.
Literally. But the thing, and this is what leads me into why I think Goldberg and Kristol and...
They don't care about the Constitution either.
No, but why they hate Trump so much is I think Trump does have very good instincts in certain cases. I think his instincts with certain economic issues, not all, clearly he's horrible on some economic issues, but certain ones he's got good instincts. And I think the reason why we have a never Trumper situation is because Trump has, this is my opinion, Trump has very good instincts on foreign policy.
I agree. But it definitely explains Bill Kristol.
That's why these guys hate him.
I think Goldberg may actually be drifting into the semantics camp. Like his never Trumping, he doesn't talk about foreign policy stuff in his article.
Not this one, no.
Right. So maybe I've missed some of the other articles. I know the Bill Kristols and some of the others, a lot of their arguments are from a foreign policy thing, right? We always joked about Lindsey Graham. He never found sand. He didn't want to blow up.
Max Boot.
Max Boot.
He's a never Trumper.
He is a never Trumper, right? Yeah. So Max Boot and Bill Kristol are the cut of the same cloth of we should go into Iran, we should go in North Korea, we should just level these places. And Trump has these instincts of not, but I think it's still economics too. He still looks at this stuff as like just not being a good bet for America. I don't even think, anytime Trump always says we're going to look into this, means I'm going to ask somebody that actually knows something. Yeah. He has no idea.
He has no clue, man.
I don't remember what I was told 2 months ago in that meeting. And I don't care. Yeah. So I think you're right in that sense that a large part of folks that'll still be, and these will be the people that continue to want to write books and get TV time and all of that.
And sure enough, if Pence does run, these never Trumpers are going to come out and support Pence because Pence will be Bush-like.
Yep.
I do suspect that. I mean, I've heard him talk in the past about...
I think pretty much everybody on that stage except for Trump was in that same camp. I see. You see Carly Fiorina now kind of moving away from all of that too. I don't know, I'll say she's never Trump, but I think she's just not happy with a lot of this rhetoric and a lot of this stuff. But they also don't understand that when you're being hit and hit and hit, nothing Trump can do is right. That sometimes tweeting about some nonsensical story like Joe Scarborough, distracts them for 2 or 3 days to give you a breath to go on to something that's actually important. And many times, that's when we find out certain things were getting done. When he actually talked about some nonsense, the next thing you know, on Thursday of that week, while Joe and Mika are still rambling about some other thing, a bill gets signed. Something moves forward. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And that's why people on the right are like, well, I don't mind Trump when it comes to policy because, and I will say, there's no way I believe if Pence was president the whole time, the Israeli embassy would have gotten moved. That's only a Trump thing.
Yeah, I mean, Bush promised it.
The promises have gone back for like 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, just saying, we compare Pence to Bush already.
There's no way. I also don't think that the Melania helping the Saudis move forward with women's rights and then being able to drive would have happened. If she hadn't gone there and done some of the things that she did with the PR, that would have happened. That was a huge win for me. Yeah. So things like that. North Korea, I think we'd still be treating North Korea. I think just Rocket Man and the fact that he'd go talk to this guy was enough. He has control of that system. It's almost like the alpha dog has control. That the moment we have President Biden or another Democrat, it's going to be rollover. Pence, I think, will treat him more like somebody I shouldn't sit down with.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's the best way to handle it.
And I think if Pence does come into office, you're going to see that old crew come back to Washington.
It'll be the exact same people. Yeah, I agree.
No, Trump is a buffoon. I'm going to say that straight up because he does so many
it's
things.
Just so ridiculous.
He is totally destroying his chances for re-election. I mean, even people that were standing by him, I think, are turning away because they're just so exhausted.
But I think it still is an emotional.
It is.
Everything is an emotional response.
It is.
But we're in June, almost July.
I know.
I think the emotional response will be different in October when you have. Let me say it this way.
I hope you're right.
Well, again, we're in different places because we have flip-flopped, right? I didn't vote for Trump the first time because I was like, no, I don't know. And again, I'm more in that camp of I didn't know what I was going to get. I thought he could be liberal. He was talking about putting up his sister-in-law for the Supreme Court, and he'd been pro-abortion 2 seconds ago, and now he was like, no, I didn't know what to believe or trust. He's proven his wares on all of this policy and stuff. I don't care. Twitter to me is a cesspool of vitriol. If you're on Twitter, you're doing something bad for your health. I'm telling you now, it's just nonsense. We dabble with it, and I don't think any of us take it very seriously. Like, my life is not
just a marketing tool
defined as 140 characters or whatever today is. But when you get to anything that has to do with Biden, what they say about Trump is usually true about Biden, right? The whole touching women and caressing their hairs and smelling their hair. Yeah, well, some soundbite that Trump had done when he was talking crap about feeling women up, you guys, they didn't care when it happened. And then suddenly we're supposed to care. But I'm not supposed to care about Bill Clinton, and I'm not supposed to care about Biden, who's literally Creepy Joe. And then when he's awake, he's just Sleepy Joe, who can't tell me that he has a clue how to handle foreign policy. Like, how, if foreign policy is your issue, how are you convinced that this guy even has a clue to what's going on? He doesn't know what state he's in. He misspeaks like constantly. It's a sad situation. You go on, he rolls over for any of the topics. It's just I can't do it. I think that you end up with the lesser of two evils thing comes back into play, and the emotional swings will change. Never Trumpers may stay never Trumpers, but I don't think all these polls and surveys now are just nothing. It's just nonsense. And I think Trump does know that. He knows that he'll have to keep shoring up these stadium events and rallying these people up, and he'll need to figure out how to communicate better with them. I agree, he's mishandled. He's not my guy. I can't stand all of it. I can't stand we should put ultraviolet light in your body and have you drink bleach. He just randomly throws these things that you don't understand. And then if you care enough to find out what he's talking about, you get the whole story and you're like, oh God, it just shows what a buffoon you are. It doesn't show that you know anything.
Yeah, but the problem is the media is going to pick up on, this sentence, and everything else is going to be left out.
I know.
So
I know.
All these people, that's all they're going to hear.
Charleston.
Because most people are not going to do their research to find out the whole story. Yeah.
Charleston. Everyone believes Charleston's true.
Now, the one thing I kind of appreciate with Trump, though, is it doesn't really benefit anything, but it gives me a chuckle, is when he does this stuff, how the media's heads pop off.
Over anything.
Yeah.
Anything that he says or does.
It is so entertaining. And I'll be sitting there watching Morning Joe in the morning. I know how much you despise that, but Joe will be, rah, 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 and because in the back, like sighing with exasperation, like Trump is exasperating me. It's like, yeah.
All right, so when people
it's entertaining.
So when people are watching this, let me have them just take a truth test, right? So this will be recorded before it happens over the weekend. So you will have gone through more National Guardsmen protecting statues. You would have gone through possibly July 4th celebrations. Did the media give Trump a fair shake on National Guard, or is he more like, oh, see, this is the first step to being a dictator, and he's abusing his power by putting all these authorities around these things. He's gone too far. These are local issues and local things. That's exactly what they're going to do. I have no doubt that's how they will dominate these headlines.
Well, there's no reason to suspect anything different.
Yeah. So, but it wouldn't be any different than Pence. We can look at Bush. We can look at these other candidates. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no doubt that they would treat anyone this way.
Well, they always love these Republicans after the fact. When John McCain was the maverick, he was the greatest thing, greatest thing since sliced bread until he ran against Obama. Then he was the worst thing. And then
he's a racist old guy with a whole bunch of houses.
Right. And then after that, he's
fine again.
Maverick again.
Well, then he saved him on Obamacare too, so he had to be the hero. And he was so mad that the media was treating him this way. He couldn't handle it. Romney. Massachusetts Romney. Liberal as the wind blows, and suddenly we're supposed to believe he's this crazed sexist who hates everybody and will put people back in chains, and you're like, Romney? Milquetoast Romney doesn't stand for anything. They basically had Romneycare. I mean, we were supposed to buy that we shouldn't vote for this guy because he was crazy right-wing radical. Trump is right-wing radical. What are you talking about? The guy just spent like $8 trillion for nothing. We have nothing to show for $8 trillion of money. Yes, there's money being spent. There's money being loaned. It's basically about $8 trillion, and we have nothing. The economy is still a shambles.
Yeah, and what some of the never Trumpers do say is that I heard John Bolton say this recently. I assume he's a never Trumper now.
Definitely got to be now. He's lost that. He's wrote a book. He's found a way to capitalize on all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps one of the worst human beings that I've ever heard of.
He's not a fan. If you didn't pick that up, folks. Lorax? Is that the Lorax guy?
Lorax.
He called him the Lorax.
But yeah, I mean, one thing he did say that was very true. He's like, Trump doesn't have a philosophy. Well, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I recognize that eons ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I will say this. The one reason that I enjoy Trump the most, which you've kind of touched on, it exposed the media. Because he honks them off so much. Mm-hmm. Because Bush, there was a certain... They basically just treated him as being dumb. He couldn't be articulate. They would ask him things off the cuff. If he was off teleprompter, he'd stutter, he'd whatever. And I came out of the Bush administration angry because there was so much more to the layers. And then Obama would stutter and do whatever everybody talked about. He's a great orator. We're headed into, with Biden running against Trump, and you're old enough to remember, the knock on Reagan's second term was he was so old and senile, he was going to roll over and accidentally hit the nuke button in his sleep. Yeah. We had the famous Genesis music video, Land of Confusion, that mocked Reagan's senility.
The puppets, yeah.
Right? There's the famous Star Wars we named for the missile defense, and there's all these photos and things that would come out where basically he's like the crazy old man with the X-Wings and stuff in the background. But we're all supposed to vote for Biden now. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's how could I take any of these people seriously?
Well, he's carrying the torch for the D, so he's okay then.
Is it Nancy Pelosi that once said we could put a D on a glass of water and they'd vote for it? Was that her? Or was it Maxine or Barbara Boxer? It was one of the California districts, and it was their districts were like 85% Democrat. They could put a D on a glass of water. I apologize if I'm butchering this, but if you Google the glass of water, comment Democrat, you'll probably find the quote. It was just kind of like, yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure there's a lot of places like that.
Do you think that the radical movement will turn out to vote?
Yes.
You think so?
The reason
because they don't have a track record of registering.
True, but it is Trump. It is Trump.
Yep.
And B, Biden is going to be a figurehead at most.
Okay.
And that radical group is going to infiltrate. That's my. So
you think that this is a vote for the cabinet kind of move?
This is the opportunity to get their feet in the door.
Well, that's true. Who do you think?
Where's the AOCs in them?
How do they fit in?
Yeah. Don't know yet.
Well, she did win big in her district. There was a lot of talk that she might have an actual competition, and whoever the competition was, they didn't come out. So she won huge. She
annihilated them.
Yeah, she won huge. Yeah. So whatever that theory is, that's been shot up.
Yeah.
So is the VP candidate for Biden matters more than it ever has? Because obviously you got sleepy old Joe, creepy old Joe, and the VP pick will either be more traditional D or more radical D.
I suspect
it's 99% chances of black female.
Yeah, I suspect.
Or Elizabeth Warren. That's it.
The people that are whispering in Joe Biden's ear.
Yes.
That's the person who's making the decision.
Right.
Right. Not Joe Biden.
Right.
Is going to want Kamala Harris, I think.
But see, she was just calling him a racist 2 seconds ago.
We never see that before.
I know, but that's. I don't know that he can handle that, right? It's like, so this is why, because Pence...
He may not even remember.
Because Pence, to me, is nothing more than a watered-down version of Ted Cruz. But there was no way they were going to convince Trump to take Ted Cruz to placate to the Christian evangelical conservative crowd because he had piled on Ted for so long. He had called him names. Trump wasn't going to go for it. I'm not sure Ted Cruz would have. But when you go to this one, do you think Biden and the analysts will just be like, it'll be okay? It'll work out. You can take it, Joe. You can take it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Joe even cares. He's just hanging out, man, just waiting for his handlers to tell him what to do. I seriously, literally believe that.
That's awesome.
I don't think he's thinking that lucidly to make these kind of decisions.
It definitely should be in question, and it is very sad and tragic to see that this is where our state of politics even are.
That's why the opportunists are sitting there waiting at the gates, man. That's my thought on that. Yeah.
All right. No.
Biden's but he's the one that's not radical enough. That gives him an actual chance to beat Trump. If you put one of these radicals in there, they ain't going to beat Trump. So you got to have somebody to open the door.
Right. So you need a Bernie bro. In basically, you need a black female version of that. I don't know though, because I don't know that Kamala Harris is that group, or she would have done better taking votes away from Bernie if she was really if she mobilized that group enough.
Well, it won't be Val Demings because she's used to be a police chief. She's ruled out.
Yeah, but Kamala Harris was a crappy AG that abused her power in California.
No, you're right. You're right. But people still are kind of letting her slide on that. They're not going to let Val Demings slide. Elizabeth Warren is too Caucasian for the position.
No, I agree. If she was actually Native American, like in more than 1,024th, she would be the candidate because she'd have some sort of intersectional vote. But she doesn't get one because now she's been outed as being a total fraud.
And I don't believe it'll be Stacey Abrams because
she's a crazy person.
Not only that, she's just never done anything.
I know, but
I mean, literally.
I'm not sure. I sometimes I feel like
Pence, as much as I don't think Pence is the brightest bulb in the room either, he will tear her apart in a debate.
I think that the more radical of the choice, the easier it would be for Pence to look good. Like that's what I think. I think that the more Kamala Harris is more of a risk to Trump and Pence than the more radical. The more radical you get, the harder it's going to be, because I think there's still a whole bunch of Democrats in the middle that can be scared off, because Biden is not appealing enough. All Biden represents is some sort of normalcy, maybe the Obama era. It's calm, it's not Trump. But you start getting crazy stuff in there, because you can't have somebody that's been out there going, oh, it's been okay to abolish ICE. It's been okay to live without borders. They can't have that person saying those things.
He's not going to have much of a choice. That's basically his list.
I know, but
pick one on there that hasn't said that. Liz, Kamala.
I was thinking Val Demings. That's why I was shocked that you were going there, because I think she's got more of a vanilla track record. She hasn't really been as extreme with some of this stuff, and because she's been so pro Black Lives Matter, it can overshadow she's as the police chief. She said all the right things. It's kind of like Durkin. Durkin is getting a free pass because she said all the right things. It doesn't matter that these people have destroyed the town, and I don't know how many millions of dollars it'll take to even like put things, I say, even livable again, because I mean it is a wasteland of what they've done to this city.
Well, it matters to the business people there.
Oh, they're leaving. Yeah, there's already companies left. Yeah, they're just gone. And I would too. I would never have handled if it had been like day 2 and they've destroyed my place and you aren't even going to try to help me out with dealing with the situation, or they're not going to let anybody in to help me with the situation, I'd be like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I guess you're going to foreclose on it and I'm just going to go somewhere else. I don't even know what to say. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll see how it plays out.
What do you think? Pence, Trump, anti-Trumpers?
I mean, would we have been better off if Trump was impeached? Would we be better off with a President Pence? Is Joe Biden going to be the next president? It's all going to play out. Let me know what you think down below.
News Talk. Hey, we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox, or MSNBC, or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
He's not paying.